Hi everyone, welcome in the new episode of the World Cup of BIM, hosted by the AgileBIM community. So I'm Bilal Zidazi, one of the co-founder of the AgileBIM community. So I'm very happy to be with you and to present you and to us the new events of the World Cup of BIM. And this time we're gonna travel to New Zealand. So I'm very happy to discover this new country for me. And I'm very pleased to welcome Sadique Anam. Welcome, Sadique Anam.
Hello, everyone.
So I hope you're doing well. I think you said kia ora in Kiwi language, so
Absolutely.
which means welcome, and oh maybe it means good afternoon or hi, right? Hello, something like that.
Hi. Yeah,
Hi, okay.
correct.
Kia ora to all of you, and welcome, Sadiq. Hope you're doing well. Can you present yourself and tell us a bit more about you?
Sure. Might as well start with the slides where I put a bit of introduction about myself, if that's fine, Bilal.
Yeah, great.
Awesome. So, welcome everyone on this BIM World Cup session. I'm Sadiq from New Zealand. First of all, I would like to start and welcome you all with Kia ora, which is our way of
Yeah.
saying hello to the world and hello to everyone. This is in Te Reo Maori, which is the indigenous language of New Zealand. So kia ora, everyone. And yeah, I hope you guys would have a good session with me going forward. Would like to keep it quite interactive. Feel free to ask questions. And if there's anything I can help you out with, any questions, just feel free to flick it through. We'll try to address it at the end. And if there's anything we need to address in between, I'm more than happy to do that. Um, Little bit about me, just to start with. My name is Sadique Anam. I was born in India, then I moved over to New Zealand in 2017. I did my master's in construction management from University of Canterbury in Christchurch. I worked in several projects across New Zealand, and I'm a chartered building professional, New Zealand Institute of Building, and also an ISO 19650 practitioner, information management practitioner. I also am an expert in Revisto integrated collaboration platform, and I'm also an expert in 4D programming. I have worked on several projects. Currently, I'm working for Performance Building Technologies. I'm taking care of all the BIM workflows and standards and SOPs within the organization and setting a standard. Just to let you know, Performance Building Technologies is the consulting wing of South Base Group. So we have South Base Construction and Performance Building Technologies. So feel free to log on to our website and have a look at what we do.
Awesome. Thank you for for your presentation. Um, Maybe I will start with the first question. So, can you give us an overview of the BIM situation in New Zealand? What's going on in New Zealand? Thank you.
Sure thing. Thanks for the question, Bilal. So BIM in New Zealand, like you said, the next slide would probably answer it a bit. So New Zealand and Australia have got similar standards. And we are one of the most influential countries in the BIM space around the world. Of course, there's several reasons for that. Like I said, I'd like to highlight a few of them. But we are, after the Nordic and American countries and few European countries, we probably would rank in the top 4 or 5 countries in the world when it comes to the BIM space. Now, there are several reasons why we are one of the leading countries in BIM. Firstly, because innovative and agile mindset in the industry. I always say New Zealand might be a small country, but it's one of the most innovative countries in the world, and which is quite accepting of new ideas, new mindsets. Secondly, as I said, it's a smaller country. We've got just 5 million population, and that's why we are strongly dependent on migrant labor, which emphasizes a lot, which leads to a lot of innovation and new technologies that we can use, BIM being one of them and robotics being the other. The other being strong and transparent governance. So New Zealand is one of the like easiest country to establish business, one of the most transparent and least corrupted countries in the world. So that means we have very transparent. That means the government is always after new ways of doing things and making things happen. There's no hierarchy. If you're innovative, it's easy to implement those innovations. The other one being no hierarchy of innovation. Like I said, you may be any person, you may be the cleaner within the organization, but you have got an innovative mindset. You can go directly to the CEO and talk about your innovation. So there's no hierarchy. So everyone within the organization is encouraged for innovation, and everyone can talk about the innovation to anybody within the organization. And the other being stronger emphasis on use of tools. Like I said, small countries, smaller population, not a strong indigenous workforce, so we are always up for new innovations. I hope that answers your question.
Sure. Thank you. So mainly, I would say 5 points, right? 5 point. One of the the kind. How do you see the this transparency governance? What do you mean by that? I mean, uh, can you more explain this kind of aspect in practice?
Definitely. So transparent government means there's nothing to hide. So whether it's the project budget, project funding, methodology, it's quite transparent. Like any new innovation that is getting implemented would be backed by strong reasoning. It's not like any one group or any company would be given preference. You may be a small company like us, a South-based construction. We are just 10 years old, but we are doing massive projects for New Zealand government. It's because the the governance is transparent. So if you are capable enough, if you're strong enough, you're innovative enough, and you can do things better, then you get an opportunity to do things.
Okay, nice. Thank you for your answer. Awesome. So.
No problem.
Okay, so can you give us an So now we see New Zealand one of the leaders of the maybe Western countries or
Mhm.
the countries of the world. And in practice, what about the the standards? Do you have any framework that you work with? And can you maybe tell us more about this kind of framework?
Absolutely. So, as you know, one of the worldwide use framework is ISO 19650 and the UK BIM framework. New Zealand, as you know, we have got a strong presence of people from the United Kingdom in New Zealand in different organizations. So our BIM framework is strongly influenced by the ISO 19650 and UK BIM framework, PAS 1192. There's so many other frameworks from Europe. So it's quite comprehensive. But what our leaders have done is they have created a framework called New Zealand BIM Handbook. It's free out there. Anyone can read it. It's a great you know tool, like I would say. Um, it's a great reference document. I would encourage everyone to go and read through it. So New Zealand BIM Handbook is just like the BIM Bible for New Zealand. So it's strongly influenced by, like I said, ISO 19650 Part 1, Part 2, then UK BIM framework, then Unispec. A lot of these standards across the world has influenced this book, and it's made for New Zealand, but anybody is welcome to use it. I'll talk a little bit about this, but like I said, it's kind of like our Bible for BIM. It outlines every aspect, has got 10 different appendices, and each appendix delves deep into and comprehensively explaining every aspect. I'm not going to go into details of all of this, we don't have time, but just to read a few, say for example, Appendix A deals with planning and modeling process, transitioning of model ownership from designers to contractor, or if it's a PCSA, contractor engagement during the develop design phase. Now, the next one is Appendix B that talks about the different kind of clashes and the coordination methodologies. I'll come to it in a bit by showing you a real life example on a project that I'm working on, but just to have a high level idea on these ones. So these BIM New Zealand BIM handbook is the most comprehensive document that is available for New Zealanders and for people across the world to refer to. And one of the key advantage of this is that it is in English. New Zealand is an English speaking country as well, so anyone can use it and anyone can implement it within their work frame. Appendix C talks about level of development, LOD 100, 200, 300, 400. And these level of development has been explained quite extensively in Appendix C. Appendix D, a lot of different things: asset management, record modeling, analysis, code validation. Excuse me. Appendix E talks about the procurement model. So so Appendix E doesn't even not just talks about the design phase, it talks about the BIM requirements from the contractor phase as well. So it's quite comprehensive, and I would really encourage everybody to read through it, and I'm pretty sure it would be quite beneficial. Now, Appendix F talks about the RASI matrix, one of the topics. RASI matrix is the RASI full form is responsible, accountable, informed, and consulted. So these outlines every single key accountable persons and how they would be accountable for. Like in a design phase, architect would be responsible for designing. The contractor, if it's engaged in pre-construction phase, he would be informed and consulted. So all different key um, players within the project, they would be assigned different responsibilities as per the RACI matrix. And this is quite comprehensive and quite useful as well. You'll see in a bit. Appendix G talks about the level of development, but in more details, and it talks about level of development for different kind of elements within the building, outside the building, mechanical, electrical, civil, RCC, pre-stressed concrete, and everything. And Appendix H talks about BIM experience company-wide. It's a high-level understanding of how key people can be related within the project, BIM usage, client-specific requirements. And Appendix G talks about, as you can see, we've highlighted on the right, it talks about what can be considered as a clash and what is not to be considered as a clash, what can be resolved on site as a contractor, and what needs to be resolved in the design phase by the consultants. So quite comprehensive, gives quite valuable insight on the whole coordination process, which I'll come in a bit, but I would say really, really comprehensive. Appendix K talks about the model description document. So every time you share a document, you put a model description document about explaining what the model is about, what version it is, which phase of design it is, who is it for, what are the key changes that has been made. So Appendix K delves on that aspect of the BIM process. I hope that answers your question as well.
Sure, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, very precise handbooks. It means that's very well organized and upon standards, so which is very good upon the international standards with the ISO 19. So great. So maybe if you can tell us in practice what's going on the BIM practice in New Zealand by maybe showing us one of the projects. So okay,
Sure.
we have seen that we see that the theoretical aspect is very well organized. So what's going on in practice? Can you present us, please, one of the projects?
Sure, definitely. Thanks, Bilal. And before I present that, one of the good practice I'd like to share with everyone, because I've got quite a few people online. If you read the ISO 19650, it might not make as much sense. But if you read through these documents and then read the ISO 19650 Part 1 and Part 2, you would see a real use case, and the 19650 would make a lot more sense to all of you. So going that, we'll go into a real life project that I'm working on. So currently I'm working as a BIM manager of this Mason Clinic project. I'm working as a BIM manager at the PCSF phase of another project for Ministry of Primary Industries. However, this project is actually in the construction phase, and that's why I have brought this up as a use case for how we are using BIM in New Zealand. So a little bit about the project. It's a $163 million project, a 60-bed contemporary forensic psychiatry facility, a mix between a facility for psychiatry patient and a holding facility as well. Spread over 10,000 square meters, and it's expected to be completed in May 2025. Um, the construction BIM execution plan. A lot of the things that I talked about the New Zealand BIM handbook, all of those have been considered while writing this BIM execution plan. That's why this BIM execution plan is quite thorough and comprehensive. So if you are writing a BIM execution plan and you're consulting the New Zealand BIM handbook, you will get a quite comprehensive BIM execution plan. So I've just taken a screenshot of some of the table of contents, table of contents like project information, BIM roles, quality checks, model structure. Like if you see all of these things that are incorporated here, they are somehow related to the New Zealand BIM handbook, and that somehow percolates to ISO 19650, BIM Forum LOD, or UK United Kingdom BIM standards. So quite comprehensive. And once we implement that, in a minute, I'll share the outcome of this BIM process. The, actually the outcome, the result of implementing the New Zealand BIM handbook and all the standards that's available to us. So this is a construction BIM handbook. Some of the softwares that we use for common data environment are Proco for raising RFIs, sharing all the documents, sharing the models and drawings with our subcontractors, and the consultants sharing the models with us. Autodesk, as everyone know, most of the modeling is done in Revit, so we're using Autodesk Revit, and we're using Autodesk Construction Cloud for our common data environment for model sharing and linking in Revit. The other one being Dropbox. So the Dropbox has all the contract documents, RFP documents, and everything that are on the contractual side of things. And also we share videos with our external clients, and we share some of those, say for example, snips of the progress of our document set using Dropbox. And SharePoint is where we host all our standards and BEPs and other documentations. The next one is a very, very crucial tool for us in this project. It's called Revisto, and it's like a all-in-one platform that we use for our coordination and data validation, checking data quantity estimates. Those who don't know what Revisto is, it's like a digital version of the Huddle Huddle board that I think Ignacio talked about in the Norway BIM World Cup, but it's digital. Some of the features include you can literally have a person sitting in a completely different continent, and you can take him through with you through the model as if you're taking the person on site and taking him through the building and showing him different issues. It's a comprehensive tool, and I am one of the experts in this software. So I would like to show you some of the use cases of this software. One of the use cases is like, you can isolate the different models within the federated model and isolate in transparency. Unlike Naviswork, it has got a very strong graphic processing engine. That means going around the model is quite easy. The amount of flexibility you have to to structure the different models and also to customize the different view settings, it's just immense. um, in the right screenshot, I actually isolated the mechanical model in transparency. That means the model is isolated, but it's showing you with reference to the building. Other than if I isolate it like we do in Naviswork, you can't really refer to where it is located. But in this case, in Revisto, it's really powerful. It shows you everything in transparency. The other thing is that we talked about the BIM modeling. Now, what can we do if we have a very good BIM model? We can use Revisto, to do the quantity estimates. Imagine the quantity surveyors doing quantity takeoffs out of the drawings. Now, if your model is quite comprehensive, we can do this quantity takeoffs within minutes from the model. So this is the quantity takeoff of all the flexible ducts and mechanical equipment from the model, and it took 3.5 minutes because our information within the model was so comprehensive that we could do all this quantity takeoff within minutes. And it is a tool that is being used by our quantity surveyors extensively to validate the quantity takeoffs from the drawings and match it with from the model. So the more comprehensive your standards are, the more comprehensive your data would be. The more comprehensive your data are, the more comprehensive your quantity takeoff would be. And this is really crucial from the perspective of a contractor, because a little difference can cost us millions of dollars. And yeah, I was talking about the difference costing us millions of dollars. This is a great example. So initially we priced this project out of 100% developed design drawings, and when we got the 100% detailed design drawing, we realized that the quantity estimates we priced it on was like it increased, the steel quantity increased by 75.87 tons. But our subcontractor said that the quantity increased by 180 tons. So what we did a sanity check. We brought in the subcontractor's model, and we brought in the 100% developed design model, and we overlaid it. And as you can see, those yellow models are the subcontractor's model, the steel designer's model, and the green one is the design model. So we could see that there's a lot of extra yellow elements in there. That means a lot of extra things have been added. So as a contractor, if we don't do our due diligence, our our subcontractor can say we have 180 tons of extra steel in there. However, we did so this workflow was developed by me and my manager, and we developed this workflow to quantify the quantity of steel within the model at different design phase. And we found out, well, actually it was not 180 million, it was 75, not 180 ton, but 75 ton, 75.87, give or take 76 ton of extra steel that were added from what we priced. So this could significantly impact our margins as a contractor, and with Revisto we are being able to quantify that variation. One of the most useful tool when it comes to issue coordination is Revisto issue tracker. Those who don't know what the issue tracker is, it's it's that space of Revisto where we can, when we find an issue, we can issue it to the right, we can assign it to the right person. So as you can see, we've got an assignee, we've got a status, we've got a priority, we've got date created, we've got watches, we've got different tags. So when an issue is created by running Clash automation, we can assign that issue to the right person. We can put a priority. We can put a date when it was created. It's automatic, and we can put a end date by which they need to respond to us by. Excuse me. And we can put different people as watchers. So we're not the only person watching. Any other people from the other disciplines that it's clashing with, they would be watchers as well. So it's a great platform to collaborate and hold people accountable. So in this case, the mechanical engineer has put a comment here, and every comment and every screenshot is a copy of that remains in the chat. So we have got clear evidence that if something is not resolved, as you can see it is in progress, we can hold the designers or any other person accountable that, well, actually you have not resolved the issue within the time frame, and this could potentially lead to a design change which would delay the project further. So this is a great tool, but as you know, the Revisto is just a tool. All of these workflows are developed in-house, like all of the statuses that you can see, which I'll discuss in a minute. We developed that workflow so that we can deal with the consultants at the same time we deal with our subcontractors. And you'll understand that in a bit. The next is review and rejected status that I created. So basically when a consultant gives us a specification, so in this case, we've got a steel beam passing through a firewall, and we don't know what specifications we need to build a pacifier. This is quite in-house workflow developed at Performance Building Technologies. So we would raise this as an issue with the architect. The architect gives us a specification, and we assign that specification to our subcontractor, and the subcontractor puts a comment, well, actually, what the architect have advised, you cannot build it on site. So as a contractor, it's not just our duty to look at things from design perspective, we also look at things from buildability perspective. A thing can be 100% correctly designed, but it may not be buildable. So this workflow of how we engage consultants on one hand and subcontractors on the other hand, and that workflow was standardized by me at Performance, and it has been working like magic for us. And this is one of my favorites, which is reviewed, more information required. As you can see, we have got quite a few ducts that are passing through the structural flow, and the seismic engineer, so as you can see, we've got a PFC here where the duct is clashing, and the seismic designer said adjust on site. So I've changed the status from solved to review, more information needed, because this might trigger a lot of design change for the structural engineer because we don't have enough space here. So if we need to prevent this clash, we need to move all of these ducts 100 millimeter to the left. That means the structural design of the slab would change. And that's why this status is created, so that we can ask them, look, we need more information on that. We need the penetration details, the trimmer beam details around this area, because the size of the penetration is going to change. The structural design, of course, going to change as well. And the other one, I would say, it's also critical. So if you say this is a beam that is flushed against a firewall, as per New Zealand standards, you need to fire rate these beams with jib lining. But as you can see, it's the jib lining is not modeled. So as per our subcontractors, such jib lining cost us $100 per meter, labor plus material. So imagine we have got 220 meters of this jib lining, which were never modeled, and that cost would have been coming out from our own margins. But because of using these tools in the most efficient way we can, we were actually quantify the amount of jib lining that was not modeled, and hence that was not priced, and this actually triggered a variation. So we found out all these issues in the design phase, and we have just 14 days to do that after the issue for construction is submitted. Issue for construction model is submitted, and within those 14 days we found out significant number of issues which as a contractor could have costed us at least several hundred thousands. So this is some of the coordination we use for, and one of the great utility for the tool is augmented reality. So Revista have got augmented reality as well. All you need is a phone with LiDAR, typically an iPhone or a iPad, I would say, and you can actually calibrate the model on site. And this is how I'm verifying if the if the stairs are at the place. And it's not something that only I can use. Anybody on site, even the laborers, anyone who have got access to the project and have got an iPhone. So if the client comes on site and they want to go through the building and see how it feels like once it's constructed, they can actually calibrate it. I can calibrate it for them on site, and they can walk through the model. As you can see, I'm walking through the model. The building is not even complete, and we can actually have a feel how it looks like. And this exercise was done by me with collaboration with Revisto, and Michael from Revisto, Michael Richards, helped us with this one. But it's a fairly easy and straightforward process. Once you calibrate it, you can walk through the model and actually see how the building would actually feel like when it's constructed. And you can even find out, in this case, those axis panels in there, you can actually see those axis panels need to be coordinated from the reflected ceiling plans. If we walk through the model and find out that it's not in the right place, we can ask the architect to give us the right reflected ceiling plans. And that's what happened in this project. So, and the other one we use Revisto for is safety in design. Like I said, a design may be perfectly buildable, but it may not be safe, or it may, or a design may be perfectly meeting all the design standards, but may not be buildable. So in this exercise, I walked with the project manager and construction manager through the building to find out some of the health and safety hazards. So New Zealand is very strict with health and safety requirements. So in a second, you would see that the duct in front of you, that's actually on the walkway, and anyone who walks through the duct has got very little space to access to the end of the building. So that's safety in design issue as per New Zealand standards. So we had to highlight this to the designers and the architect. As you can see, a person has to jump over this beam that is like about 30 centimeter tall or 40 centimeter to the top of the, so we can do instant measurements as well. So to the top of the beam, it's about 43 centimeter tall. So it could be a potential safety hazard, and it could actually impact the people who would be maintaining these facilities. So quite useful tool to do the safety and design. And all this is possible because we have really comprehensive data within our models. So as you can see, half a meter, 543 millimeter above the surface of the walkway. That means any person who is maintaining these assets need to jump over these structural elements, which is not ideal, and might not even qualify from health and safety standards. So this was the exercise, and the other exercise that we do is 4D sequencing. As you can see, I did a 4D modeling based on different revisions of the program. We go on site, talked with the senior programmer. We sit down every week with the programmer, with the main subcontractors, sit down, what's going on, what's not going on, put a progress on the different activities within the program. We sequence different activities on the critical path. So we do a lot of moving things around because we have got comprehensive data, like I said, and we can sequence things in a more what we call in a more appropriate way, and we can look at different scenarios to see that what things need to be picked up later on, or which part of the project we need to do next to to stick with the main program and not have any delays. So the other thing that we do is not just 4D programming, we do a baseline comparison. So the baseline for revision 4 on the left was what was initially programmed. The revision 5 was came back later, a few months. We had a few delays on the project because of various factors. As you would see, we could visualize those delays and can actually sequence the different activities following today. And so this is based up to 1st of July. So we can sequence the activities from 23rd of May up to 1st of July, so that we can match our activity here and match it with revision 4. So you might actually say, for example, one of the outcome of this report was that we put more resources for the people who are putting the brickwork in there, so that we can get the brickwork done in half the time, and we can match the sequencing that was initially agreed on. It's quite a useful tool, so we know where we are lagging in the project. As you can see in here, at any point of time, 3 months ago we should have been here as of today, but 3 months later we are a bit behind. So we're going to put more resources in people to build this part of the building, to build the facade, and also to build this part of the structure in here. 4D sequencing is just amazing. The other thing we use is site monitoring using drone deploy. So we monitor the site, we put overlays, and we see that everything is in place. As you can see, we have put architectural drawing on the actual building, and we see that all the pile work, all the grid lines are at the right place. The other one being we compare the progress of the site. These are like this could be really handy for the project control group or different meetings where we can show this is the progress of the project. So we fly a drone at specific time every single day to capture the site, and from that we can compare different things. And another really important use of this tool is that we can find out the total cut and fill on site. So we've got different, and so these photos are not just photos, so it's photogrammetry. So the drone also captures the elevation from the photos, and we can calculate the cut and fill and what amount of work has been done based on different days. So August 30, 2023 versus May 13, 2024 on the right screen. Exceptional tool. excuse me, the other one being generating a point cloud. So this point cloud is generated without a lidar, without needing for a lidar camera. So from the photogrammetric image on the back end, it gets processed and we get a um, point cloud model. And the other tool is reality capture. So we've got the design we build on site. We fix the issues on the design, but there may be certain issues that might get overlooked, and we might actually find those out while going on site. So OpenSpace is a great tool for visual as-builds. So it is an as-build platform and a reality capture platform where we do site captures every single day. Our subcontractors would do it when they go in there and install their mechanical equipments. And if we find anything, we create a note here. And just to let you know, these notes or issues are geospatially located, so you can import it in the Revisto model and tell the consultant, well, actually, we overlooked this on during the design phase. When we went on site and built it, we find, say for example, in this case, I've put a um, random description here, needs to be verified, the location, and we can actually export this in Revisto, and they can locate exactly where this issue is located, and they can go through their different documentations and let us know what's the solution, and we can that way find issues on site and backtrack it and to the design phase or to the shop drawing phase. Quite handy tool, really useful, and we have got the total progress of the site captured and hosted in cloud, which can be accessed by our client, external stakeholders, internal stakeholders, project management team. Anyone can access these information. Now, what was the outcome of having a good BIM model in this project? We had great health and safety because we do safety in design analysis, and we make various claims, like I showed, drone deploy. So we had uneven site conditions which were not accounted for in the geotechnical design, and we had to do a lot of excavation. We made several $1 million of claims, and we were able to quantify it with drone captures and calculating the total amount of excavation that was done on a week-to-week basis, and those was used as an evidence to claim any variation. The other one being assistance with buildability and methodology. Like I said, clash is one thing, buildability is another thing, and as contractor we look at things from the buildability perspective. The other one being improved construction sequencing. Sequencing is really crucial. It helps us analyze the amount of resources and help us, streamline those resources into the project and quantify those and make plans for those. Better transparency, so everyone is aware, everyone is have access to all the data to see how much progress has been made. Better resource allocation, as I always said, and minimizing the waste, cost, and time certainty. We want to minimize rework as a contractor because rework usually cost, as far as I know, 10 to 30% of a project cost is rework. So we want to reduce that and help that as our own margin as a contractor. So these are some of the exceptional project outcomes. When we have got a report that's soon going to be published on our website, case study. So we have used digital tools to actually save $28 on site by investing just $1 on the tool. Great outcome, and that's why this also forms a strong case for the government to implement BIM in major projects. It's picking up speed. Many projects nowadays, they need to have a BEP submitted right at the tender phase. So BIM in New Zealand is really matured, I would say. Thank you. And that was all from me. I hope I tried to keep it as short as possible. And I hope I touched some of the important points, and it might be valuable for all of you.
Thank you, Sadiq. Very, yeah, the presentation was very impressive, and the case study was very, very, very impressive and very interesting. Very interesting. So,
Yeah.
I will ask you a question, yeah, about the project outcome. Maybe because, yeah, sometimes you know the debate between people being just about standards, and we don't see the project outcomes, and we don't see in practice. And
Mhm.
what it is very good with this project is we do see the project outcome. You have saved to your company some money. So I hope you get some reward from this ratio from the money saved. Um, and the thing is, sometimes we don't see yeah the outcomes of BIM. So how do you see how what's your advice to the BIM guys who are in the BIM and they have some difficulties to show and to show their outcomes in projects. So, what's your advice for those people?
Well, it's really crucial, I would say, to be able to quantify, because you can do all sort of stuff, right? You can do, because that, like I said, my manager always said there are three things crucial for success: the tool set, the skill set, and the mindset. Correct? So we have those in the market, but how do we quantify it? Because at the end of the day, the stakeholders would only be concerned about the numbers, how much money we have put in BIM and how much we have saved. So to be able to articulate has nothing to do with the BIM process, but it's, I believe it's a personal skill, correct? So as a BIM manager, I would highly encourage, and I would highly encourage the organizations as well to hold workshops within the organization and encourage people to develop their soft skills, their presentation skills. We do a lot of that in New Zealand. Like, say, for example, I have been put in the leadership program, although I have nothing to do with leadership. That's because only once you develop leaders who have exceptional communication skill along with exceptional execution skill right from the foundation, then only you will be able to show people that there's actually benefit in there. And that's why a good BIM manager also has to be a good project manager and a good speaker and a good people's person. And those skills you cannot develop with softwares, unfortunately.
Awesome, thank you for your answer. So, and what about the implementation of BIM? So you have talked. So what you said it's about also about people. So how are you working on it? So because we always know that's I think all around the world one of the first problem that we face is the change barriers of people don't want to change. So
Mhm.
what's your advice and what's your process to improve that aspect?
Yep. Yeah, we face that a lot of time as well. Like, there's a lot of people, they say, like, we've been doing that like this for 30 years, and that's how we're going to be doing for next 30 years. When you face such a stalemate in there, there's no point, pushing hard, right? Because you cannot change certain people. However, what you can do is actually ask ask those people the right question, how they are doing things, and try to show them with the software how they can do it better. Make it look like their achievement, not your achievement. I'll give you a real example. I have limited experience of working on site because I come from the consulting industry. And I believe a lot of these workflows that I develop, and those were developed in last 10 or 11 months, is because I went to the right people and asked the right question. Say, for example, you go to the design manager of a project and ask them, what are the challenges you faced in your previous project? And every project manager or design manager would be more than happy to share their success and failures. That's how the market works, right? And you learn from that and you analyze that and you try to use the tool set, skill sets, and mindsets together to find a way in the software and show them, well, actually, you can do the same thing, but in half the time. That means now you have got free time, which you can either use for family or doing some other productive things. One of the example that I've done is that before this project, I had no idea how a seismic restraint is actually built on site. I've never seen one. I went to the design manager and the project manager for another project, and I asked them actually, like, can you share some of the lessons learned from the other project? And they said, well, actually, we lost this much of money in seismic restraint. Then I asked why. Then they said, well, actually, there was a fire rating requirement which it didn't meet, and the design wasn't looked at, and the seismic restraint has a tolerance of 30 to 60 degree. I used that logic and created a workflow, and we found out 350 similar issues, which could have costed us another $1 million in this project. Sometimes it's not about the software. or not about your knowledge, or not about your experience. It's about asking the right question to the right people at the right time. And that's also one of the fundamental of ISO 19650 as well. You need to know what to ask, whom to ask, and when to ask. And it's a continuous learning process. I always say it's a lifelong journey. Every, even whether you have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, every single day you will go out there and learn something new. And if you go there with that mindset, you're definitely going to make an impact.
Impressive. Thank you. Nice to hear that. So, at the end of the day, it's all about human aspect, human management.
Yeah,
Great.
that's the main aspect.
I want to finish with the question because, as you know, we are in the AgileBIM community and talk about Agile, about lean aspects. So, can you give us an overview? What are your thoughts on this kind of new way of thinking in the IC industry? What's your experience and what are your thoughts on it
Yeah,
in your country?
sure, sure. Thanks, Bilal. So I always believe we cannot reinvent the wheel. So we can only build on the information. So we cannot completely negate the old ways of doing things like Kanban, Scrum, Agile, all this project management methodology. I believe they can add great value in the BIM process, but at this moment, I don't see a culmination of those inherent project management process and BIM. But I personally believe it's something that we need to rethink about and re-strategize our BIM workflow around that. And that's why personally I am doing the project management professional course and project management institute construction practitioner course. Those two courses I believe gonna give us give me personally an understanding of how we can use some of those methodologies like agile, kanban, scrum, and we're not changing the fundamentals. Our BIM process is still the same, but we are integrating those workflows within the BIM space so that we can make our BIM process universally appealing and more efficient.
Great. So in practice, you don't see a lot of involvement in New Zealand.
Um, like we don't have a like a process, but like our project manager would still use the same methodology, right? The project management best practices, PMBOK or whatever. But how do we present BIM to them in the language of project management? That's my next challenge and my next actually project for 2024 2025.
Perfect. Awesome. I think we are on the end of the event. So I'm very pleased and very happy to have a study, to have learned a lot from you, from your practice, and it's very wonderful and very awesome. So very happy to learn and to share with the community the kind of view and what's going on in New Zealand. So very interesting what's going on in this country, definitely. So glad you accepted the invitation. And yeah, let's beam the world and let's spread the good the good the good word. So I don't know how you say goodbye in Kiwi language. How do you say it?
We say ngamihi.
Gamehi. So
Yeah,
today, okay. So gamehi to all of
yeah.
you. I hope you have
um
I've presented it good. So and thank you for your time. Thank you for your time and for your wonderful presentation. And hope to see you
Thank you.
again. And thank you
Thank you
for
for the
all the
opportunity and
attendees.
look forward to keep contributing to the community worldwide. The BIM community has got a long way to go, and I hope Bilal, people like you, me, will be able to make some valuable contributions going forward.
Definitely hope it. So thank you all of you and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.